With me, Cynthia Ng. Daily COVID vaccination rate hits record high. How to sustain the momentum? And home-based learning extended, ensuring equal access across the board. That's coming up. More than 150,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered yesterday, the highest daily rate so far. Earlier, the government said it had targeted to achieve a daily vaccination rate of 150,000 doses by end of this month, before increasing it to 200,000 doses by next month. The increase in the number of vaccination was supported by 276 vaccination centers, or PPV, nationwide, along with an increase in drive-through PPVs. To date, about 2.5 million individuals have been vaccinated, while more than 12 million individuals have registered to get their COVID-19 vaccination.
The challenge for us is to make sure that we can do this consistently. It's not good enough that we do this on one day and then drop to below 150,000. We're working very hard to ensure that once we hit a certain number, we can maintain that number.
Khairi said measures to sustain and increase daily vaccination doses include speeding up delivery of vaccines, improving vaccine capacity by opening up more vaccination centers, especially large-scale PPVs, and ramping up manpower to administer the vaccines.
The government will start dispensing COVID vaccine to critical economic sectors, especially those which are required to operate throughout the MCO. This includes manufacturing, export, logistics, utilities, and other related industries.
Khairi Jamaluddin said for a start, a vaccination center would be opened at the Petronas complex in Pengerang, Johor on June 16 after it was determined as a high-risk area. He said discussions is being held to set a schedule of fair and reasonable charges to be borne by the industry and companies participating in the industry PPV program. Almost 60% of all senior citizens who registered for the COVID-19 vaccine will receive their appointments by mid-June. Khairi said more than 2 million senior citizens have registered for the National Immunization Program, and 3 out of every 5 would be vaccinated by June 15. Commenting on a recent proposal for automatic registration under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program mooted by the Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, he said the matter was still being discussed.
Meanwhile, Khairi said vaccine deliveries to Selangor would be increased in the coming months. He said roughly 17% of Malaysia's COVID-19 vaccine supply has been delivered to Selangor, and he aims to increase it to 25% as more supplies arrive.
He said the COVID-19 Immunization Task Force had taken note of Selangor's Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah's concern that Selangor had only received 600,000 vaccines thus far and therefore planned to speed up vaccine distribution to the state. Khairi said with the delivery of more vaccines expected this month, as well as the opening of new vaccination centers, the state will be able to handle more volume compared to previous months. Selangor, meanwhile, is expected to receive its own batches of vaccine from the end of June and will begin its inoculation drive in July. Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syahri said the state will receive 2.5 million doses from the first batch, but declined to reveal the brand and price of the vaccine due to terms of contract. 200 million ringgit has been allocated for Selangor COVID-19 vaccination program under the 551 million ringgit stimulus package for residents and businesses in the state announced today.
The Yang di-Pertuan Agong is expected to chair a Conference of Rulers meeting next Wednesday. In a statement by the palace, Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah will discuss with the Malay rulers on tackling the spread of COVID-19 and the country's state of emergency in this special meeting. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong had an audience with Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin at the palace today and with several opposition leaders, including Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, DAP Secretary General Lim Guan Eng and Amanah President Muhammad Sabu. When asked about his audience with the king, Anwar said he pleaded to His Majesty not to extend the state of emergency beyond August 1st. The PKR president said the emergency has been hard on the people, especially the poor, and by extending the emergency will only hinder the recovery of the economy. Anwar said the topic of changing government was not brought up today. A flurry of palace meetings with political leaders and a rulers meeting next Wednesday. Tonight on Consider This, we ask political analysts how best to interpret these moves. That's coming up. We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Kabar baik untuk semua rakyat B40. Dengan Yes Prihatin belajar dari rumah, Yes memberikan telefon pintar percuma dan data percuma. Tiada deposit, tiada kontrak, tiada bayaran. Ini memang milik anda. Tuntut sekarang di yes.my/kasih-up B40.
Welcome back. According to the Ministry of Education, only 60% of school students in Malaysia are able to conduct home-based learning in 2020. Faced with a number of challenges from internet access, availability of gadgets to lack of supervision and motivation, how do we make online learning possible for all? CEO of Pandai Education, Khairul Anwar Muhammad Zaki, shares his thoughts.
He said it is important for students, teachers, and parents to work together and be equally invested to make home-based learning possible.
They need, one, of course, the access in the first place. And number two, they need the support from their parents and family members as well. And with home-based learning, students do not have the direct supervision of their teachers. So family members now actually play a more important role. And the challenge is that many parents are actually do not have the subject matter expertise on the education content or the academic stuff itself. And more importantly, number two, the right pedagogical approach or techniques to support the students at home. But I believe on top of this, there needs to be monetary aid as well for teachers who have had to spend their own personal money to cater for online teaching and learning for their students. So I believe like students, teachers also need to be supported, need to be motivated in many ways to keep on educating.
Despite the many challenges, Khairul feels optimistic, noting that the increase in the number of students using the Pandai platform is proof that online learning is gaining traction.
And more people, especially the ones related to the ministry, teachers, parents, and also the students themselves have seen the advantages. For example, Pandai started last year, and now more than 200,000 students are already using Pandai. So they are open towards, digital initiative that can complement what they are also doing in school. With digital learning, there's more interactivity, that it saves time, it allows a self-paced learning, and if we can provide all students with the access, online learning can actually somewhat democratize access to quality education, because students can have access to good teachers or good materials wherever they are.
On to international news. India reported slightly over 92,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours, the second consecutive day with fewer than 100,000 daily infections. Some states in India have started lifting restrictions following a steady fall in cases. Shops, restaurants and other businesses are allowed to reopen with limited hours in New Delhi and Mumbai, with some restrictions also lifted in the states of Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that from 21st of June, all adults over the age of 18 will be vaccinated for free. The new policy means the federal government will take over India's vaccine rollout, which has been widely criticized for being too slow amid the recent deadly wave of cases. France is opening its doors to international tourists starting today for those who had been vaccinated against COVID-19. The country is accepting tourists from most parts of the world, including the United States, much of Asia, Africa and the Middle East, provided they have a negative test. Citizens from 16 countries wrestling with surges in infections and worrisome variants will not be allowed in. This includes India, South Africa and Brazil. Much of the rest of the world is classified as orange, whereby visitors will no longer need to quarantine on arrival. They will, however, still be asked for a negative PCR or antigen test. European visitors and those from 7 countries classified as green, Australia, South Korea, Israel, Japan, Lebanon, New Zealand and Singapore, will no longer need to undergo testing if they are vaccinated. Singapore has found the Delta variant of the coronavirus to be the most prevalent among local cases among the variants of concern. The discovery underscores the highly infectious nature of the variant that has spread globally since it was first detected in India. The Health Ministry revealed that as at May 31st, a total of 449 local cases of infection involve a variant of concern, of which 428 were the Delta variant. The next largest group was 9 cases linked to the Beta variant first identified in South Africa. Singapore authorities first reported the presence of the Delta variant locally in early May. The Delta variant is considered more easily transmitted from human to human and was what fueled the massive spread of the virus in India and has now caused major spike in infections in other countries where it has been found. The U.S. Senate approved a package of legislation aimed at taking on China as the two countries compete for technological leadership. The $250 million package will largely focus on strengthening R&D spending and increasing U.S. production in semiconductors and telecommunications equipment.
The bill must pass the House of Representatives to be sent to the White House for Joe Biden to sign into law. The bill has a number of other China-related provisions, including prohibiting the social media app TikTok from being downloaded on government devices, and would block the purchase of drones manufactured and sold by companies backed by the Chinese government.
Before we close the show, here is another news for football fans looking forward to Euro 2020 this weekend. Astro Supersport host Adam Kurata sat down with some of the best football journalists in the world to dissect the upcoming competition in an exclusive series of Adam Talks. He also shares his insights on which country are the favourites to win this edition of the tournament.
I've been very fortunate in that we've partnered up with The Athletic, which is, I would say, the industry leader in sports journalism. Started off in America and now it's moved to the UK. They have the best writers available to them, and it's an app on all mobile devices and tablets. So we've partnered up with them to preview the entire tournament. So I had 2 journalists join me to discuss every group. Now, these episodes are being uploaded as we speak to our various platforms and on TV broadcast as well. And the general consensus is probably France are the favorites. They're current World Cup champions, of course. They were finalists on home soil 5 years ago in 2016, losing against Portugal, rather shockingly. But again, it goes back to that underdog thing which I mentioned before. But their talent in depth is unparalleled, from the likes of Griezmann, Mbappe. I mean, yes, they have a very, very tough group, but they are also the champions of the world for a reason. They'll be looking to become champions of Europe as well.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you again tomorrow.